So the gross domestic product, the GDP, is a very important measurement of for a country's national economic growth. So you can see the GDP is mentioned, in the economic world very frequently. Per this book, so the national accounts actually was created by Kuznets back in 30s after the Great Depression, and the national accounts actually watch the flow through the different sectors, and this flow diagram truly represents the flow of money through the whole economy. And you can tell the four big boxes here: the household, the firms, and the factor markets, and the markets for goods service, right? The household actually through the consumer spending to consume the goods and service which are manufactured and produced by the firm, and the firm pay the wages and the interest, the rent through the factor markets to the consumer. So this form a flow, and out of this core flow, and you can tell the household don't spend all the money, right, to buy the stuff from the markets. They also save some money, and that will flow to a financial market. They also pay tax to the government, and then government transfers some money back to the households through all those social programs like Social Security and the Medicare, all those stuff. And government itself will also spend the money to buy the goods and service from the markets. And the financial markets actually supply the capital to the firms through the stocks, the bonds, all those kind of financial vehicles. And the financial market also lend the money to the government. And this is more like a domestic economy. And out of the domestic loop, you can tell the financial markets also lend the money to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world and also the foreign also lend the money and buy the stock, which will pump the money to the financial markets. So this is a two-way transportation. And the markets will import from the rest of the world and also export to the rest of the world. So So this entire diagram represents how the money flows through the whole economy, right? All these transactions will be the elements of the GDP, the gross domestic products. And the GDP actually is defined as the total value of all the final goods and service. It can be calculated in three approaches. One approach is the sum up all the value of the production of the final goods and service. And the second one is the sum up all the spendings on domestically produced final goods and service. A formula actually can be formulated as GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus IM, which means GDP equals consumer spending plus investment plus government spending plus I call it net international trade, which generally defined as the export minus import. So this is pretty intuitive and straightforward formula. And the third one is the factor income earned from the firms in the economy. And you know, the GDP can be GDP growth can be distorted because of the inflation, right? For example, let's see, 10 years ago, if you buy a, let's see, a Cadillac, the same model, the similar model, at least, you probably spent like, let's say, $40,000. That, let's see, that's the only transactions domestically, or in the country, and the total GDP will be $40,000, right? And if now you are buying a similar Cadillac with the similar features, similar functionalities, everything is is the same, but the price is increased from 40,000 to 60,000. So the GDP will be 60,000, and the growth rate will be 60 minus 40, 20 divided by 40. That will be 50% in growth. But the good or the vehicle, the car you got is the same. So there's no real change. So the 50% growth of GDP is purely because of the increased price. So that's the nominal GDP kind. If we really want to tell what is the real growth, we need to calculate the real GDP. That will kick the current price back to 10 years ago, and the GDP growth will be zero. So that's more relevant. And the price index is the relevant index to measuring the. Another concept is the GDP cannot tell you the real, the true living standard, right? The GDP per capita, which is the total GDP divided by the total population, will tell you how much value one person in a country can create, that really represents the living standard. The CPI, the price index, is the major measurement for the inflation, right? And it is calculated based on market basket, including proportional key products and services. And the price index actually is calculated in a given year, is calculated based on the cost of that market basket in that given year, and the cost of the market basket in base year multiply 100. Let's use the example I just exemplified. 10 years ago, the similar model of the Cadillac cost you $40,000, and let's see, that's the only product in this market basket. So the cost of a market basket in that year is $40,000, and now the similar model of the Cadillac is sold at $60,000. So the cost of the market basket in a given year is $60,000, and 60 divided by 40, that will be 3/2, right? 3/2 is 1.5. 1.5 multiply 100 is 150. So, which means the price index 10 years ago is 100, and now it's 150. And the inflation will be 150, and this will be the inflation for 10 years, and it's actually not compounding. So this simplifies the case. Let's just use this as the example anyway. So the inflation rate is 150 minus 100 divided by 100. That will be 50 over 100. That will be 1/2, which is 0.5. Multiply 100. That will be 50%, just like we talked earlier. And the consumer index, the price index, is widely used in the U.S., and it is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And by the way, the GDP is published by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. And the consumer price index, the market basket for the consumer price index in U.S. can be told from this pie chart. You can tell this is 2010. It may be changed today, and I don't know. I didn't do the research on that. But the housing is the biggest piece of the pie, 41%, and the food and the beverage are 15%, and transportation is 12%. So you can tell the consumer price index is calculated based on the basket of this makeup. Year over year, there could be change, right? Especially 10 years after, there may be a lot of change because of the development of the new technologies and the new lifestyles. You never know. And in addition to the consumer price index, there's a producer price index. Is from the production perspective, and the GDP deflator, which is the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP. And through this review, we can tell, as we know, U.S. market is consumer-driven market, right? And that actually requires the fast growth of personal income, plus the extensive approval of the financial credits. But this is not the case nowadays. Since actually this hasn't been the case, not since the 2008 financial crisis. We always see probably the term of stagnate, right? The personal income hasn't been increased for a couple years. In some sectors, the real wage actually even dropped, and the financial credits, the approval of the financial credits actually has been pretty tight, right? And the banks are more cautious to grant or approve the credit. So in this regard, we need to encourage the firms to invest, because a lot of corporations actually are actually sitting on the pile of cash, and we need to encourage them to invest the cash into the domestic productions, and that will generate or create more jobs, and to have the personal income increased. And we also need to push, or the government also need to spend, but that relies on the tax revenue, and this will cause a contradict here. So the more tax the consumer consumers pay, and the less consumer will spend. And this probably is why recently, the debate on taxing the rich is so hot, right? So, which means the middle class actually need money to spend in the markets, but the rich actually, their spending behavior is quite different, right? We should say, if they pay more tax, the country will benefit more. Then they keep the money to spend. So that's the logic, but it's not always necessarily true. It has to be balanced through the policies. And we also need to shrink the international trade deficit. So, which means probably either increase the export or decrease or reduce the import, or both. Anyway, when getting into the more advanced level of the macroeconomics review, I'm going to quantify all these points of my national economy plan through the mathematical modelings, such as the multivariate, calculus, and of course, for economics, the econometrics will matter.